Thank you. So great to see everyone. I absolutely love this. Is my first WORKTECH event. We were at the New York event. We're super excited. Then we said, okay, we have to be here because these are the folks that get it. This is not actually just raise of hands again. Anyone from IT that's in this room? Okay, there's two folks. Thank you for being here. I'm gonna just start. Well, quick introduction myself. So Dirk, my real passion is to reinvent how we work so we can create more thriving workplaces, but I happen to also do AV work and technology design. But I'm really passionate about fully reinventing how we're structured so people can thrive and feel alive at work. That's what gets me up every single day, which I think many of you want that as well. Let me tell you just a quick story. In 2013, we were invited by a very prestigious Canadian law firm to work with them to reinvent their workplace. And we were pumped. We were working directly with the CIO. The IT team was amazing, very, very talented people. They really knew their stuff. We had Microsoft at the table. We had Cisco at the table. And we wanted to fully reinvent the experience for lawyers and how they collaborated. So we dreamt up things and we had tons of conversations with IT. Definitely Microsoft did a great job selling us on Microsoft Link. Does anyone remember Microsoft Link? Yeah, okay. Certainly that was the platform to go with in 2013 because they had figured it out. There was these link room systems. Anyone put any link room systems in their spaces? Yeah. Well, we tried, and these rooms, honestly, we were proud. Like we had our A+ team working on this, and we had these rooms where we could do interactive whiteboarding. You could start Cisco calls, Microsoft Teams calls, and we were like, wow, this is incredible. 360 cameras right there, 2013, right? So what happened? What happened? Yeah, so the lawyers were scared. They came into these rooms and they're like, what is this stuff? They didn't want to use it when they tried using it, and we told them, oh, you need to connect 2 USB cables to your computer to launch the interactive whiteboarding and be able to do your Teams call. They're like, what is Teams interactive? Why do I need interactive whiteboarding? Anyways. Needless to say, it was not the greatest project we've done, even though from a technical perspective, we freaking tried. And so did the IT team, so did the CIO. Of course, we didn't lose, no one there lost their jobs, but we did. We lost that client, and we learned our lesson. So we kind of felt like we had built this Formula One car and then put it on snow. It just didn't work out so well, even though it was a beautiful car. But yeah. So what happened? When reflecting back, and again, this was not due to a lack of trying or people being committed to doing great work. What we realized is that, hey, yeah, we had great conversations with IT, but we had very little conversations with facilities, the actual users, the people supporting the rooms, which was a different team than IT at that point in time. So there was a lack of stakeholder alignment and really understanding the needs from different perspectives. We also, I was the engagement lead that time around on this project, and I really understood how IT worked, how IT made decisions, the vision of the CIO. I was like, I understand this, and then I realized I have no clue how these lawyers work, or what are their challenges that they're experiencing, or what are they trying to achieve, or what could be the experience that makes their life so much better, right? Yeah. Then the other thing that happened, we had just won some really, really cool technology awards, and we had come up with a solution where you could centralize a whole bunch of gear so you could share it across rooms. And at that point, video conferencing codecs, someone knows what video conferencing codecs are. We figured a way to centralize them in a rack and share them in many, many rooms. We thought that was that's really cool, right? So we're like, let's add that in. Another client, they were really into innovation labs, this and that. So interactive whiteboards were like, the future has interactive whiteboards. How many use an interactive whiteboard on a daily basis? Well, one person. There we go. It's a cool technology, but maybe we're just not ready to start leveraging that. And anyway, so we repeated and we brought these really cool innovations. And again, we just missed the mark. The other thing that happened is we were stuck in our role as an AV integrator and really as a vendor to works for IT, not with the client. And the other thing was like, hey, we were really asked to push the boundaries. The IT team was asked to push the boundaries, but they were also scared of the stakeholders, of the lawyers in this firm. So we had this false objective of just getting it right from the get-go. And the last piece is, even though we did, 20 prototypes with IT, we never prototyped our solutions with many of the other users of the system. So, okay, well, now imagine if we did that exact same approach today with the complexities that hybrid brings along. So, back then, very few were working remote. Then we went to pandemic. Most people are working remote. And now, oh my God, we're trying to figure out what makes sense for which culture, which organization. Like the complexity has increased massively. So I don't think this is going to be a surprise for folks in this room. But we need to approach this very, very differently as a trusted advisor, a technology partner with our firms. And many of you are familiar with this process, but this is breakthrough thinking for our industry, which is using design thinking, not just the process, but the mindset, the methodology, to just be able to understand what are the experiences that really matter and figuring out how we can focus and solve for those problems. And of course, not a linear process. By the way, it doesn't have to take months of time to do this. We've done this, we're working with the Justice Cluster in Ontario to deploy 120 systems in 3 months in response to COVID, and we still prototyped, iterated, did all the things that are part of design thinking. We've applied this process to develop global service and support programs for clients that have realized that now these technologies are business critical, and it's not good enough when a room works 92% of the time. It needs to work all the time. So anyways, we've used this for many, many different applications. This was, again, 2013. It's been 9 years that we've been just embracing this process. And I just want to tell you our own story leveraging this process, because I think it's pretty neat. So we were in 2019. We were literally bursting out of our really cool brick and mortar space in Leslieville. But we had no more parking lots. We were hiring more people, and we're like, oh my God, what do we do? Do we buy this building? Do we expand? Do we go to a new location? So anyways, we knew we had the process to try and figure this out. So we started doing a bunch of interviews, and Chris Wheeldon here did a ton of conversations, hosting different workshops with different parts of our team to really understand the different needs. We actually had all company workshops to prioritize our needs and have clear what we wanted to get out of the space and what were the experiences that we were going to optimize. Because we're not BCG, we don't have the amount of money to invest in that space like that. We're an AV integrator at relatively low margins, so we had to right size to our particular needs and context. And we also, actually, one thing that was super cool, by leveraging this process, the amount of energy that we created by inviting people into the process, inviting people to understand the challenges that we were facing, but also to come up with super creative solutions. That was kind of like a mega bonus of doing this process. But anyways, 2020, we were like, okay, we've got our point of view, or our first attempt of a point of view. We need a space that's really a collaboration hub. And this was, again, prior to COVID happening. We're in a collaboration hub, but we have two very distinct goals that we're trying to achieve. On the one hand, we do this really, really big projects. We do around 300 projects a year that are very complex. So we need to emphasize our warehousing, our staging, our QA, all of that stuff. It needs to be fantastic. And on the other hand, this needs to be a great place where people want to come work, and it also needs to be an inspiration for our clients. So distinct purposes for that same space. And then what happened? Well, COVID happened. And we were like, oh my God, what's going to happen? All the construction has stopped. We do a lot of work in the corporate market. We're like, oh, are we going to be around in 6 months here? Yeah. So thankfully we still are around. And what we started doing is, okay, just ideating. We had a clear purpose. We started looking at options. Our culture is also a bit funky. We're a self-managed organization where people self-set their salaries. We have very decentralized decision-making at ET Group. So we basically invited everyone to ideate potential futures for ourselves. We made the decision we're going to move to a new location. We found a great site. We learned a lot in that process as well. I won't get into that one yet, but we did find a great interior design partner that worked with us and really appreciate. What I found interesting is there's some interior designers that apply this, and there's many that still don't do true design thinking. But we found one that did. We did a whole bunch of prototypes of our space layout. And by the way, I haven't talked about technology just yet. We did a lot of prototyping, testing. We invited users to provide feedback on the designs that we were putting in front. And the other thing we did was 3 key choices that I think served us really, really well. One thing was like, hey, we don't know what the future holds, so flexibility needs to be top of mind. And from a technology perspective, that means like designing for flexibility, designing for an unknown future. So for things like going with centralized systems that had all Cat5 to do video and audio wherever we wanted, whenever we were ready to do that. We did that then. We also decided, and this was critical, that we were not going to build the entire space from the get-go. We made a choice to just do what we knew was not going to change. We knew we needed crazy awesome warehousing facilities, an amazing staging area for folks to be able to do their work. So we just went ahead and did that. And then we said the rest we'll do later when we really have to, because we were working effectively over distance. I mean, I energized the CEO role. I moved to Calgary. A lot of our staff is here. So we know how to work in this remote hybrid environment already. So we delayed the decisions as much as we could. What we ended up doing is we did a phased approach. We basically built what we know we needed. We built that. Our folks are super happy. Who had a chance to go to our space yesterday? So yeah, about 10% of the audience here. And you saw that we put a lot of emphasis for our production facilities because, hey, there's a lot of knowledge workers at ET Group, but 20% have to do their work on site. So how to design for that was really interesting. And then we went ahead and designed our office space. And our most complex spaces, the ones that enable hybrid conferences, panels, all that sort of stuff, we said, you know what, there's a lot of things that are happening technology-wise. Let's hold off. Sure, let's put in a big video wall in the back, but all these cameras are changing, all these tools that we're using. Okay, we're using Cisco right now, but Zoom is really, really good at hosting large meetings and doing breakouts. So can we enable those types of use cases? So we waited, and then what has been happening is we started doing it in stages, and we started doing a ton of prototypes, especially in the highly complex places like this one, where you're trying to do many, many different types of use cases. I think it's very, very important to prototype and do mock-ups, try it out, learn from it, and then start making some of the longer-term choices. So what did we discover? Interesting things, because yes, at the end of the day, we're still a technology firm that has a human-centric approach. We found that by doing this exploration, we encountered new technologies or new applications that were really freaking cool for the times that we're in. One of those is actually a pretty simple concept, but we were talking about collisions and serendipity and these things. Well, this one company called Video Window, I love it personally because I'm working in Calgary most of the time. There's a lot of people that I work with on a regular basis that are here in Toronto and use our space. I want to figure out a way on how to connect with serendipity. When someone's going for a coffee, can I just quickly connect with them? And this provides this like persistent tunnel between two different spaces where literally you can knock on the screen and you can then connect for 2 minutes with someone. And honestly, I feel so good when I can do that, because sometimes like I'm going crazy just walking on my own with all these screens. So yeah, sorry. And actually, that one is important for belonging. And the reason I get emotional is because I don't know if anyone felt it, but during COVID, we got lonely, right? That technology actually addresses that loneliness and enables that connection really, really nicely. So super cool. Next one, okay, doing multiple cameras. What we found when we started hosting events in our space is that, yes, sometimes we had presentations that are kind of like right now. I don't love these type of presentations, like a one-to-many type piece. But like I told you, we're a little bit crazy at etgroup. So we host a lot of very engaging conversations, and we use breakouts, and we problem sort together, and we have facilitators in this space and remotely to host 80 or so people to do co-creative sessions. So we needed a space that supported that. So great, now we have a crazy amount of technology in that space that, by the way, you cannot see, but we have multiple cameras that are synchronized with the audio and are tracking what's going on, and we're able to shift the use case for that space quite easily as well. And we also have interesting things like things to engage people, like a microphone that you can throw around. So as we're doing our co-creative sessions, we can engage folks. What else? The other one is actually some people familiar with Microsoft Front Row. Okay, so that one's cool because this is Microsoft who's pushing the boundaries on what's possible based on their platforms. And then, some manufacturers that are catching on and be like, oh, maybe we need to rethink the layout of screens so we can have people, content, and chat in one screen so that people can feel more engaged and can feel they can participate. Awesome solution. So many times to our clients, we're saying, hey, let's allow for some flexibility. Sure, here's the budget of what we're thinking right now, but here's a few technologies that maybe we don't want to choose right now. Maybe let's wait, because there's a lot of cool stuff happening, and we may be able to give you something even better that will optimize that solution. And the other thing that we intentionally did for ourselves, but of course our clients have been asking for a while, is like, okay, how do we know that these rooms are working? How do we know what's being used or not? And most of it, how can we do a better job supporting these rooms so that people don't get scared when they get on stage that something that's going to work out or fall off the stage? And you just feel super comfortable using the technology. So what we've done there, and this we're piloting with one of our major clients, is instead of having this reactive support, which is still very important, something fails, we need to be able to fix it. So we've developed technology right now that allows us to test the room overnight, and if there's an issue, we automatically generate a support ticket, dispatch technicians, so that important meeting is not impacted by that room experience. Or, for example, we also learned that it's not, at least for us, and this varies by client, for us just picking Microsoft or just picking WebEx or just picking Zoom doesn't make sense for us. So we're accepting that. It's like we've got the 3 platforms, and yes, it can be messy sometimes, but they're running in parallel. But hey, we're learning. We're actually learning that people use Zoom for larger meetings, and it works well. Great. Then we're also learning that WebEx and Microsoft are getting very close. Okay, maybe we're going to do a strategic choice there at one point to pick one or the other because there's a lot of duplication. Anyway, cool learnings around that. And what are some of the things that I feel are key insights? And for many of you, this is a repeat. But one, having that shared understanding and alignment, involving a whole bunch of different users, and in addressing those different needs, having conversations related to what are the true priorities for the space, what's the purpose for the space, and being willing to reconsider that as you learn more things in the project. That's a big one. The other one is, wow, and this is so hard, because we have this bias to action, I feel many times, but going slow to go fast. So really putting the time up front to truly understand actually allows us to act very, very quickly when the priority is there to act, right? And then, yeah, just focusing on what is important now. We cannot predict the future and try to design for it, in my humble opinion. But we do know what's important to address right now. And that's how we try and phase projects in different manners. As an example, we're building this beautiful new courthouse. And in order to enable it, yeah, we've got this highly complex system that will be running all systems, but we need to get it up and running a lot faster than the construction allows. So we're building these modular pieces where we can enable each and every single room to do 50% of the functionality now, and then 6 months from now, they're going to have 100% of the functionality, and that's good. Great. And then that is a huge one. Build solutions that can evolve over time. So, and from an AV perspective, a lot of choices that can be done to enable that. Actually, on the build solutions that can evolve over time, I also invest in relationships that can evolve over time. I think the technology partner is no longer a vendor. It's a strategic partner that needs to be, it can be at the table on an ongoing basis. And I think the good ones, we want to do that. We really care, and we want to be there and continue learning with you all. And the last piece, just prototype and be willing to iterate, because we're not going to get it right from the get-go. I think we're a few years away from understanding patterns that can match many companies. I think every company is very different. Cultures are very different. Use cases are different. Let's honor that and prototype, iterate, and we can do better. Thank you.